So I did a client reading earlier today. It was like a mini read for one of my longest clients, viewers, subscribers, since like pretty much the beginning when I first got on YouTube. And I have read for her before. It's been a while, I think, but I have read for her before. She's in Cancer. I don't recall if I ever even knew what the masculine is. But she'd recently purchased healing for him and was wanting to purchase more. And I just said, oh, I don't feel that you necessarily need to do that. Let's see, what the cards say, if they show that there's any additional need right now pressing. And, admittedly, it did come up, and I'll go over that. I'll try to recap it as best as possible. So basically what happened is, first once, camera rather, shut completely off. Not just stop recording, because sometimes that happens, right? Like, and it's like, what the hell? And you don't realize there's been a break. No, it shut itself completely off. And I thought for a moment that I had made a mistake about the battery being charged. I'm like, wait, did the battery die? Like, how long was I talking? What did I do here? And when I put it on, sure enough, the battery was pretty much full. So I'm like, what the hell? And I started recording again. At that point, I was like halfway through it. So she would have missed all the shuffling that I did, which was 2 decks, and there was a lot of messages that came out there. And then, like I said, I was like halfway through this, but wasn't done with it. So I recapped as best as I could, and was at the advice. That's why these cards are laying here, and had even started to go over some of the cards that were part of the overall energy. That's why these are here, and it had happened again. I was like, what the hell is happening? What's going on? So I had to leave. I had a meeting to go to. There was a few hours. So I just messaged her before I left, and I said, when I get back, I will make another attempt. So in the meantime, I was also trying to get a sense of like why and what had caused it. And I was reminded that as I was working on somebody else's healing yesterday, one of my anklets broke. As a matter of fact, I still have the pieces here. And my anklets broke. So there's a lot more pieces than that, but I just put them over here. And that was in the midst of working on somebody else's thing. I just think that, it was like an attack because, of course, there are dark energies that are upset about some of the healing that I've been doing, because it's been a lot, and it's been pretty miraculous. If you've been seeing my posts and stuff, I had another person with an inoperable tumor, like my own mother had. My mother had colon cancer. She does no longer. She hasn't for over a year now. But at one point, she had an inoperable tumor, and the doctors had told us they didn't know what else they could do for her. Like, basically, she was going to die. Like, there was nothing. And I didn't make it disappear. I didn't remove it, but I was able to make it operable. And so, and to have them look again, and they did, and they took it out, and she no longer had cancer after that. Similarly, one of my clients, her sister had a rare blood cancer, and she was in the hospital, and she got her healing from me as well. And that was a couple years ago, but she had a very rare cancer. They were very concerned about her. She was in the hospital, I think, for a couple weeks at that time, and then we did the healing, and as far as I know, she's, for the most part been fine ever since. She's home. She's not in the hospital. And she's, thankfully still with us. So similarly, some clients of mine in India, I work with the whole family and some friends, and, it's been word of mouth. So it's like a whole community of people in India with whom I work. And I had done something for one of the friends last week who her mother was trying to put something on her, kept trying to get her to eat some funky stuff, and was very clearly doing something at her job, had given her some sort of weird talisman and stuff, and was trying to get her to wear it. It was really bizarre stuff. So we did something, and then the sister and brother-in-law both contracted this malaria-like disease that is often fatal in India. And even when it's not, it requires a lot of hospital time. And I worked with them, and they had to spend no time in the hospital whatsoever. We healed them from home. I did my thing, and I told her what to do, what I needed her to do on that end. She did, and fever broke, before they ever even had to go to the hospital. And they're back at work like a couple of weeks now. Nobody can believe it. Everybody's like, what in the world? It's amazing for one person to survive this virus. It's passed by mosquitoes just like malaria. But for two in the same family, a husband and wife, and for neither to have to even go to the hospital, for you to not have that cost, that's crazy. They didn't know that I would work with them. So then the father, he had this tumor, prostate cancer, basically, for quite some time. They didn't know what to do for him. It was very large, and they didn't know what they could do. And basically they said they couldn't do anything and work with him. And then they changed their mind, and they said we're going to operate, but it was still very big, and they thought they were going to have to do more than one operation. And, we worked on it, and we prayed on it, and we had the date changed because she wasn't happy with the date before, and we prayed on that and had it moved to a 29. So, that for that protection of Archangel Michael. And they removed it in one shot, a 3-hour surgery. The doctors were shocked themselves. They said definitely that kind of surgery usually takes a while, but in more than one operation, 2, 3 surgeries, they were done with him in one. No excess bleeding, no problems with his healing. He spent 2 days in the hospital and was able right away. No pain, no painkillers by day 2. Just, he was well. All they needed him to do was urinate through the catheter. He did that. He's home. He's home, and they said he looks better than he has in a very, very long time. So I've been pissing the dark off, pretty consistently and pretty heavily, and so that was my first sense. I'm like, okay, and now I'm getting like really, really awesome messages for this client of mine. They're annoyed, and I was just gonna recap. But then, sometimes the light rather, they do step in and, even use an opportunity that the dark put out there. They turn it around to something else, And so it's like, let's say you miss your bus one day. And, maybe that was because of some sort of negative energy or dark energy. But then at the same time, the light will step in, God will step in, and you will have missed something that, wasn't meant for you, maybe some danger or something. And you end up, okay, well, so it all worked out for the best in my favor. So I think that's what the sense that I'm getting now. Maybe because after I did some praying and stuff over this. So I'm going to recap this. And then I'm also been guided now to do another spread, So we'll have 2 sets of messages, I guess, and perhaps some repeating ones, as we've seen occurs sometimes in the weeklies when I have to do similar. So this was the spread that I laid from the perspective of the Divine Masculine using 2 decks, my Animal Tarot and my Universal Love Oracle. With the Animal Tarot, I began with the Queen of Summer. And you see she's here again. That was the first card. And I figured that was representative of my client, the woman for whom I'm reading, her energy, because she's a Cancer. And so I did my thing, shuffling. She had a lot of these cards that are here now were the ones that came out as I was shuffling. And then I shuffled this deck. And similarly, a lot of the cards that had come out before came out here. This was actually the one with which I had started. I began with it. I shuffled. It came up again. I talked about it. I cut into 6. I shuffled in my hand some more. It turned up as the overall energy. I put it back in the deck, shuffled some more. It ended up like 2 cards underneath. No, it ended up as her advice. It's her advice. Yeah. This was a card that had turned up. It ended up... Okay, so let me do this. So this is Moon Tree, and it's one of the cards that showed up as I was shuffling. Moon Tree is a card that is representative of both the marriage between heaven and earth and the marriage between 2 souls, two divine beings, divine souls. So it is completely representative of sacred marriage. And oh yeah, this was not her advice. It's the overall energy, as I had said. It ended up as the overall energy. So they ended up like this: heaven on earth. Heaven on earth is a card that shows up to remind us that we can have heaven right here where we are. But it requires us to rid ourselves of those things that block us from experiencing heaven on earth, right? And just pure joy. So it can be a person, it can be a thing, something tangible, whatever. But I find more often than not, it is like emotions, negative emotions and negative cords of attachment. And so as far as negative emotions, it's things like regret, resentment, fear, ego, doubt, pride, the inability to forgive, holding on to something very long. And so this card turns up with an energy of air and fire. And perhaps that means something. To tell us that what we need to do is, let go of those things to vacate the space so that the heaven thing, the good thing that the universe wants to give us, that God wants to give us, can enter. So like I said, this card showed up about 3 times for you and ended up as your overall energy. But one of the other ones that has shown up was birth. And you see, this is a very... And there's the sirens, though you had plenty of sirens too, with the healing. Because my windows are completely closed. Yet the sirens are able to come through. And I have soundproof windows because of 9/11. But soundproof windows except for sirens. Those always come through loud and clear here. So yeah, this birth, when it had turned up, like during the shuffling, I think it was opposite Major Arcana card, the Hermit, or I had seen it somehow in connection with the Hermit, and I believe it was this one that had given me this sense of that something was coming up for you around what I guessed, like from memory, the 18th of September. Basically, I said when Pluto goes direct, that was some sort of message I got. When Pluto goes direct, something's happening. And it was in connection to this in part because like Pluto is the ruler of the sign of Scorpio. So it's all about death and rebirth, a phase ending and a new one beginning. Or you ascending and transitioning into the next, phase, for lack of a better word, again, of your life. And I also had the gateway show up, which is similar. I said when the gateway shows up, it means that our soul wants to move on to this, next level, this next phase in our life, this next circumstance or, new path. But we have to be ready. So we have to be rid of the previous one. That has to die. So I got from this sense of Scorpio and death and rebirth. And then I said it's super spiritual because of this dove here, which for me is very Pentecostal looking. And you may agree, right? This to me is very sacred, right? It It's indicative of the sanctity of the rebirth. It's like really like being born again. Of course, the event of the Pentecost when the Holy Spirit descended on the earth. And so that, coupled with this, I was like, oh, okay, that's another message about heaven and earth coming together, or having heaven on earth, experiencing it together with this new life, this new experience, this new phase. And like I said, the Hermit has shown up. The Hermit is Major Arcana card 9 in the tarot. And then I realized that I had, again from memory, and we can check this out to see what's the accurate date, if not this one, but I had said I think Pluto goes direct on September 18th. That's 9-9. And so I had the Hermit in my hand too, Major Arcana card 9. And so that's about introspection and reflection and going within. Well, sure enough, you had also had this card turn up more than once. But I had just realized at the end of the reading there that it was behind these two. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this one and this one. Like all these cards that turned up for you before, they're back, they're here together. I had no idea. This is one of them too. I didn't even realize this one was here. So the reflection is for you to look at your life and to decide or figure out, use that as an opportunity or a way to figure out what, if anything, onto which you are holding that you need to let go to vacate a space. It could be, more so attributed to the masculine, perhaps, that he has to let go of something. And I also said about this, like this is coming into clarity, but it can also be helping somebody else come into clarity, as can be the energy of the Hermit. It's about enlightenment and spirituality and education. So sometimes the Hermit is a professor or a lawyer. It's coming into information and understanding. So I said, it doesn't have to be just you yourself. It can be you helping him or him helping you to come into some sort of clarity and understanding. So it's pretty amazing to have discovered that these cards were here. So again, the sacred marriage one too, I'm like, oh, that's back also. Now this is one of the ones with which I started. Like it came up very early in the reading. And I had talked about the air, water, and earth energy. But also pointing out how this card often shows up for me as an indicator that there's something from the past coming up with which one has to deal with. And it can be something that you've wanted to say or that he's wanted to say for a long time. And or it can be something, in either of your private lives, having nothing to do necessarily with the other, but something, with family, your upbringing, ideologies and things at home. And so that's why it's represented by this child here. Something that has to do with actual children too, but not always. That's a possibility as well. And why I get that something has to be said often when this card shows up is because these stars, which are representative of the sign of Aquarius in the tarot, Major Arcana card 17, the star, represents Aquarius. Aquarius, as an air sign, well, these clouds here, is automatically about communication. That's what air signs are about. Thoughts, words, right? Ideas, communication. And these stars are very strategically placed, the throat chakra, the third eye chakra, the crown chakra. So those are all means of communication, right? We speak with the throat chakra. This is we see and maybe even hear things that other people perhaps don't with the third eye chakra. And then with the crown chakra, again, that's thoughts, that's ideas, that's the, words and on what our reality is based, right? Our thoughts and the words we speak over ourselves become our reality. So I also had tied this card to the reflection. Because I said we may have to figure out what this is, and deal with it in order to vacate the space that's taking up heaven's spot in our life here, right? To allow this other energy in, the energy of rebirth, the energy of sacred marriage. What else is here? So this hadn't come up, but this is also a card that's very Aquarian-like, but also water, because we have this woman, so it's like air and water again. We have this woman floating, so it's automatically, it's air for me. And we have listen, which is tied to communication. So that's automatically air. And we have the star, again, which is representative of the sign of Aquarius, which is also air and communication. But then we have, like, I get feelings of intuition and psychic energy. So that's usually attributed to water signs. The star in the tarot is also about our prayers being answered, our dreams coming true, our wishes being granted, not just communication. Well, the overall energy in this deck is the Nine of Summer, which is also about our prayers being answered, our dreams coming true, our wishes being granted. It even says here, now's the time when your dreams come true. Don't worry about how this will happen. Just give gratitude to God for all that you have and all that's still to come. All right, so now that I have explained that, let me go over the actual spread. So began with Divine Feminine. And I said this card, the Six of Autumn, is about assistance coming in, or you providing assistance to somebody, or somebody providing assistance to you. It is about unconditional love. It's giving and or receiving freely without agenda, right? So somebody or something, some energy helping you to emerge or to ascend, maybe to gain clarity with these three rays coming in, headed toward, again, these very strategic areas: throat chakra, third eye chakra, crown chakra. You're getting ideas, you're getting information. So that's what something or someone is giving you, or the assistance that the universe is giving you. It's clarity, it's enlightenment. Now, one of the things that this card is about also is that when we receive, when we are blessed, we're to turn around and bless somebody else. So whether it's time, money, some other sort of assistance, we're to share what we're able to. It doesn't have to necessarily be the same thing. If I come into a blessing of money, just to make it easier, I get some extra money, and that may allow me to give someone my time. Like maybe now I don't have to work this hour or two. Now I can afford to volunteer my time somewhere. So it doesn't have to be the same thing that you're giving, but we have to also give when we're receiving. Your success and prosperity have allowed you to pay off debts, to acquire wise loans, and to receive a grant or scholarship. In return for heaven's blessings, be sure to share the wealth with others through donations of time or money to reputable charities. Okay, Divine Feminine. Again, coupled with emergence, which is like this energy of, again, sort of like rising from the ashes, like a phoenix, but also stepping deeper into light and receiving. You're on the receiving end of some information, some enlightenment, right? Some clarity, perhaps. Now, this is the masculine as it relates to the feminine, and I, tend to point out it's often very directly tied to the cards that the feminine got. Well, look at this. It is a divine feminine who looks healthy. She is blue, like a water sign perhaps, Cancer like yourself. She is with this masculine that looks like he is in need of help, and he has, similar to what the child had stars. He has spheres strategically placed, right? And so it's like this feminine is here to help him, maybe to enlighten him. So you were blessed here, you're receiving something, you pass it on. And to help him to heal and to whole. Because this balance card for me, although it's like water and air in the card, it feels very temperance-like. Temperance represents the sign of Sagittarius in the tarot. Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of karma, the planet of luck, the planet of growth, of expansion. So of, like this, right? Stepping deeper into something, into the light, growing, ascending. It's coupled with the King of Summer, warm-hearted, devoted, loving, and faithful. A trustworthy person or relationship enters your life. You may receive wise and compassionate advice from someone who speaks directly from the heart. So again, this is your energy at least. I don't know what sign the masculine is, and I haven't really got an indication. But this is representative of Cancer, your sign, Scorpio, Pisces, or someone likened to those traits or attributes. I mean, anybody would be happy to see the King of Summer represent, their love interests in relation to them, because it's about somebody who is mature as it relates to emotions, and like sort of has their emotions in check and is happy to express them, share them, without being silly about it or embarrassed or whatever. And we see that this masculine looks like he's trying to get to that place. Like, again, have something to say. So wanting to reach there. The masculine as it relates to himself, 5 of Autumn. So 5 of Autumn is about lack, void, something again from your past, perhaps like my past relationships suck, or my relationship with my family, my parents. I have daddy issues, I have mommy issues, I have fear of commitment, fear of abandonment, all these things that we potentially grow up with. And so you bring that later into your life. That can be what it is you need to let go in order for heaven to come in, right? The negative emotions, the negative cords of attachment to people. Focusing upon the negative or worrying about money or your career or any of those things I just listed, crappy relationships, all of that can block your progress. Because your trust and faith are at a low point right now, it's not the best time to start a business or a relationship or anything, or, become self-employed. So, but he's like aware of that with this showing up in the position of his own energy, right, by his higher self's own choosing. It's coupled with the golden path. So it's like, I feel like this, but I know what I have to do to fix that. And that is to get healing. So, I mean, you've watched me long enough that I'm sure you know that for me, this card is very representative of like an energy, like the Wizard of Oz, for a few reasons. We have all these rainbow colors here with the trees, right, this forest here. And so in the Wizard of Oz, Julie Garland, she sings that song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, right? That's where the dreams come true, is somewhere over the rainbow. Well, the dreams are coming true here, right? Now's the time when your dreams come true. Like how? We says, doesn't matter how. Don't worry about how. Just give gratitude to God that it is. But it's like how? When? Where? Somewhere over the rainbow. When you get there, or as you walk down this path, that's how it's going to be healed and these things are going to come to pass. So all the other connection is that, when this card shows up for me, it does show that we are on path and we're wanting to be on path and we need to keep forging ahead. What are we forging ahead toward? Well, again, similar to the movie, the play, whatever it is, you of your choice, your medium of choice, they were headed towards down the yellow brick road, rather, toward the Emerald City. That's where the Oz was, who was going to help them to help themselves. They didn't know it at the time, but to realize that they had this power within them all along, right? Each and every one of them did. They didn't get that yet, so they needed to go down there for the healing. They needed someone or something to help them, a greater energy to help them to understand that. And so similar to them, or for him, that's what he needs to do. But rather heading down this golden path toward the Emerald Ray as opposed to the Emerald City. Right, the ray of healing. And then with regard to the union as a whole, boom, here we go with this Pluto and Scorpio energy again. And death and rebirth with Major Arcana card 13, which is called Release in this deck, but is actually death, which represents the sign of Scorpio. And where there's death or an ending or releasing of energy, there is transformation. There is a new beginning. There is transition. That's what this card is about. So it's sort of like that rebirth card. It's time to release the past and to move on to something new. This ending is the first step on the way to a happier future. So it's like you can leave whatever was in the past behind, hurt, difficulty, whatever it was, something went wrong, misunderstanding, lack of clarity, confusion. Leave that behind, these negative emotions that resulted as a consequence, or these negative cords of attachment to people. And we can break that. And when we do, or when we allow those things to come to an end, or help them to come to an end by whatever means we may, there's the new thing. abundance. So this is with his feelings with the union as a whole. We need to let go of something, leave that in the past, so that we can have this new abundance. Overall, so this is more from the universe than him, than from his higher self, right? The overall energy. And we have the Three of Winter, which is basically the Three of Swords, a card. It's about loss and hurt and betrayal sometimes. And I had also seen the Ten of Winter, or Ten of Swords, as I was shuffling and things. And I had described how in the traditional tarot, the Rider-Waite, there's a guy laying on like his face, flat on his stomach with 10 swords in his back. He was betrayed. He was hurt. And so when this came up, I as a matter of fact, I think I started talking about this card, while I was talking about that one before it turned up. And so when it did, I said, there is like the hurt or betrayal, or at least feelings of that. Even if it didn't happen, if it's in somebody's mind or heart, that because of misunderstandings and presumptions and things can cause us to hurt our own mind, right? Winter, swords. That's that communication, the air signs, thoughts, our own thoughts, and we can have whole scenarios going on in our head sometimes when we're missing information, when we lack clarity, that can cause us to hurt. Sadness is part of life, but you don't have to endure it alone, right? And then sitting here atop this King of Summer and this Balance card, you don't have to endure it alone. We can support each other. We can help each other. We can get each other healing like you did for him. We can, help each other through things. You don't have to endure it alone. You may need a little time to heal, but once you work your way through the emotions, you'll be stronger than before. And I think that most of all, showing up here with Tantric Union, this is about sadness, hurt, disappointment, that we are not experiencing this in the 3D. Why do I say in the 3D? Because nothing can stop us from experiencing it at an ascended level, right? Nothing can stop the connection that we feel, hear, see at an ascended level. We don't have to have physical contact for that. I think so this came through to me as sadness that we're not experiencing it like on all levels. So including, again, the 3D. That was overall. Then with the masculine, would have the feminine do contribute, surrender toward the union. And we have the Five of Summer and miracles. Well, the Five of Summer is a card of pessimism, doubt, melancholy. Oh, woe is me, sadness. Nothing's, going right. So coupled with miracles. And I was laughing at him because I'm like, he has a 5 too. It's like you wanted to talk, but he wants for you like better than he has for himself. He's like, okay, I'm going through this, but I don't want you to feel melancholy. I don't want you to feel pessimistic. I want you to maintain faith and positivity and continue to believe in miracles, right? Again, dreams coming true. Don't worry how it will happen. Just have faith that it will. So that is his wish for you, or what he would have you do. And then when it came to him himself, stepping deeper into light, similar to what we have here, or what you can help him to do. Remember, this was energy of assistance, perhaps, for somebody else, not only for ourselves. So we have 3 rays of light here. We have 3 rays of light here. So there's a willingness to, again, step deeper into light, remain on the path, go toward this healing. And it's coupled with the Queen of Summer. So again, that's representative of your energy, but also of as far as the tarot is concerned, the energy of Scorpio. The queen of any given element, this being water, tends to represent in tarot the fixed sign, again, of any given element. Well, the fixed sign of the element of water is Scorpio. And it's sitting right here under the death. So it's about letting go of that old us and stepping toward this newness, stepping deeper into light, moving toward that gateway, that next phase. That's what he's willing to do. But also, you can take this to be more literal too, in that the Queen of Summer is representative of you. And then we also have a couple right here at the table. And, the most romantic couple that we have in the tarot, the King and Queen of Summer. So that's representative of partnership. And then speaking of partnership, I started to lay the advice, and he got first. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm skipping ahead. I didn't do what the universe would have each or both of you to do, and even wants to help you with, but you have to first, affirm, because we have free will. And that was, again, this healing, not just of ourselves as individuals, but of the relationship, of the union. And that comes through with Major Arcana card 6, the Lovers, which represents the planet, or the planets perhaps, Mercury and Venus, rulers of Gemini, represents the sign of Gemini. And both of those planets currently located in Virgo. So that might take us back to the Hermit, which made me think about, again, Pluto going direct, which is the ruler of Scorpio. I know it probably sounds crazy now because it's out of order. But this card is about, or these two cards together, again, healing toward healthy union and love. True and long-lasting love finds its way into your life. Follow your heart with caring actions and choices. So, to tie that back into this, the Queen of Summer is also about following your heart and nurturing yourself, like despite the other people and situations around you, maybe from your past, maybe from your childhood. Despite that, with these two cards crossing here, don't forget you. Don't forget to nurture you. This is a time of deep emotions and heightened intuition, which you can trust completely. Be mindful that you don't ignore your own needs while you're caring for others. So while you're dealing with whatever else is going on in your life, masculine, or whomever else is going on in your life, perhaps some sort of party of three, not necessarily a love triangle, but that's always possible too, unfortunately, when these threes come up. And we have these, in a row here. While you're dealing with that, don't forget about what you want and need for you. And that's what the Lovers guide you to do, right? Follow your heart. So then I went on to the advice. The Masculine's card from the Animal Tarot is a 2, Major Arcana card 2, the High Priestess. This is the time to pause and to reflect, not to take action. Trust in your spiritual gifts, as nothing is hidden from your divine intuition. Major Arcana card 2, the High Priestess, represents the sign of Gemini. And in the tarot is also connected to water signs. Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. Because it's connected to intuition. Now, the High Priestess as a 2 is about partnership. So we have that here. It's also about faith, which we're both guided to, right? Masculine trying to increase his faith, wants you to maintain faith, doesn't want you to lose faith. We have an overall energy that guides us to having faith, believing in dreams, believing in miracles. Again, masculine asking you here with this card also to have some faith, believe in miracles. But the other thing that High Priestess is about is she does use this intuition, this very watery, right, trait, intuition, psyche, but also wisdom, intellect, common sense, maybe some enlightenment that somebody else helped her with. Somebody gave him some information. Whatever she could possibly use is at her hands, is available to her. She takes that, she uses it, she reviews it, she considers it, and then she acts. So it's about pausing. It's about not acting now, but it doesn't mean don't act, period. And, sit on your hands. It's about methodically taking action, or very purposefully taking action. So you plan first, and you don't necessarily share your plan. So again, if you have people or things around you that would distract you, that would get you to change your mind, that would prevent you from following your heart and your dreams and what you want, maybe you don't share what your plans are with other people. You just act once you decide what the guidance is telling you or how the guidance is telling you to act. You just do it. Then you also got a 2, the 2 of autumn, which similarly can be about your need to make a decision and to perhaps take some sort of action, and or a need for balance, which we had a card that was even called balance. It's right here. Need for balance. And I had talked about how, yes, I felt that it was representative of the 2 of you, but also could be either or both's inner masculine and feminine too, needing to come into balance as well. Maybe more so the masculine given the placement. This is the masculine as it relates to the feminine. So here's your 2. You may be under stress because of multiple jobs or too many responsibilities for one person to manage. It's important to balance your work and your personal life, and to bring a spirit of fun to all you do. So you want to make sure that you're having fun, whether it's with girlfriends or family, whatever. Having some sort of social life, like not just work, not just home, not just cleaning up, not just whatever. This is about finding balance for you, right? And also it could have to do with making a decision. Like I said, similar to the masculine. And those decisions tend to be of the earthly. So it's like, again, how many hours do I want to work? Or where do I want to work? What am I doing? Earthly stuff. Do I want to go back to school? Those sort of things. And I guess I had not yet done the advice from this deck. So let's do that now. For the masculine. Blessings. That goes perfect with dreams coming true, prayers being answered, wishes being granted. All right, so here's another indication that abundance is on its way. Blessings. And for you, we have it's Mary also. So that's interesting that you both got a card with Mary. But we have sorrow. Actually, the feast day of Our Lady of Sorrows, I think, is next Sunday. I believe it's next Sunday. But this, I'm sure, is tied to this. And also, I would say, is tied to this. And the things that we're holding onto which we're holding that must be released so that the blessing that wants to come in can do so. We'll pull another card from here to see if it'll give us any clarity into this one. So I like to do upright cards. This one is upside down. You see the tree roots in the air. So this one is upside down, so I didn't take that one. We're taking this one. And it's creativity. So this is a card of co-creation, partnership. It is representative again of fire, air, water. You can see the water. And so of the water signs, it can be representative of any and all of them. But for me, it's mostly Pisces. We have these like translucent fish jumping out of the water. And of course, the fish represents the sign of Pisces. Also, we have the moon sitting back here. And the moon in the tarot is also representative of the sign of Pisces. But the moon in real life, Earth's moon, rules the sign of Cancer. So we have that. And then we have this very fiery angel. Maybe that's the Sagittarian energy again. Jupiter again, helping us to grow, to expand through our creativity. But it could be any fire sign energy showing up. Leo, Sagittarius, Aries. or again, Jupiter or Mars himself. And then we have the air. We have these clouds. But we see there, it's fire and air in the clouds, just like this, fire and air. So it's about coming up with creative ways to increase our own abundance. And that can be in connection to a union, the two of you, or it can also be in direct connection to you. What hobby or talent could you use, might you use toward your own growth right now? You may want to consider doing that. That may be a decision you need to make, something connecting to creativity. And that's going to help to turn this energy around too, as would, of course, co-creation between the two of you. Next card is upside down. Sometimes I get greedy. And it is dreams. So again, in pursuing of your dreams, dreams coming true, wishes being granted, and prayers being answered, the action that you yourself have to take, because prayers without works is dead, is toward creation and co-creation. So I think I will wrap this up here. Again, I don't mind coming back to do another spread for you, because that's what I had been guided to do. But I think that I should end this one, get it up to you, and so we can talk further. I hope that you have enjoyed it despite the disarray. Namaste.